Hey everyone, Josh from California Through My Lens, and today we're talking about one of my favorite parks in the entire United States, Channel Islands National Park. Just off the coast of Southern California, this hidden gem is home to unique wildlife, stunning landscapes, and incredible outdoor adventures. If you're planning your first visit, in this video we'll share essential tips to help you make the most of your time on these pristine islands. From transportation and choosing the right island to exploring the trails and respecting the delicate ecosystem, we've got you covered. So join us as we dive into this ultimate guide on a first-time trip to Channel Islands National Park. Let's do it. First up, let's talk about the islands. And while there's 8 islands, only 5 of them are in the national park. For most people, Anacapa and Santa Cruz will be the islands that they visit. There's also Santa Rosa and San Miguel, which are technically possible for day trips but are usually best for camping, and Santa Barbara, which currently doesn't have any tours. The other 3 islands are Catalina Island, which is easy to visit, San Nicolas, and San Clemente, which are both owned and operated by the military and which you cannot visit. Each island offers different experiences and activities, so research beforehand to determine which island best fits your interest and time constraints. For the purpose of this video, we're basically just talking about Anacapa and Santa Cruz with a little bit about Santa Rosa as well. Next up, let's talk about one of the most difficult things to plan, how to actually get to the islands. Channel Islands National Park is a set of islands off the coast of Southern California, and because of that, they can only be reached by airplane or boat. Almost everybody will do it via boat, and I've never taken an airplane there myself. If you're going via boat, Island Packers is the official place that provides transportation to the islands. In order to visit, the first thing you must do is go to Island Packers' website and then select the island to see the available boat options and dates they're traveling there. There's a boat every day to Anacapa and Santa Cruz, but not to the other islands, so you really have to establish good plans if you want to visit one of those. After getting a ticket, you'll be leaving from one of 2 harbors, Oxnard or Ventura. I recommend staying the night out there before you leave if you have an early boat so that you're not late to the boat. Also, call in the morning to make sure that your boat is leaving, as they don't go if the waves are too high or there's too much wind, and they'll tell you that the morning of the trip. Next up, let's talk about the visitor center, and while there's small centers on most of the islands, the main visitor center is in Ventura. The one in Ventura is technically the only part of the park that you can access without taking a boat. This center has information, exhibits, and an introductory film on the islands. It's a great place to help you get oriented and to learn about the park's history, wildlife, and activities. Plus, there's a small lookout tower that you can climb that gives you good views of the island when it's a clear day. If you only have a little bit of time on a road trip, then check the visitor center out and plan another time to go to the islands. Alright, so now we got all of that out of the way, let's talk about whether you should take a day trip or you should camp. There are no hotels on the island, so camping is the only option if you want to stay overnight. If you want to camp, be sure to get your reservations way in advance, as they tend to sell out. You can take a day trip to Anacapa, Santa Cruz, or Santa Rosa, and a couple of times a year you can actually take a long day trip to San Miguel. If you want the easiest island to see quickly, then Anacapa is your best bet. You can get there in about an hour and see the whole island in about 2 hours. It's small and easy to explore with a lighthouse and some nice views, but basically nothing else to do while you're there. I wouldn't recommend spending the night there, as there's not really anything else to do and there's no beaches that you can sit at, as the whole island is up on bluffs. For Santa Cruz, a day trip or a camping trip is perfect. There's a lot to do on Santa Cruz, so however much time you dedicate to it, you'll have lots to do and a few beaches you can relax at. This is the same for Santa Rosa. It's a big island like Santa Cruz, so you can take a long day trip there, but you won't have a lot of time on the island if you do this, as it takes 3 hours each way to get there by a boat. The one time I went to Santa Rosa, I only had 3 hours on the island and it was like a 10-hour day to get there, so camping is probably the best option if you can do it. Also, if you have a chance, camping is the best option for San Miguel as well, but plan to spend a few days there, as boats only come out once or twice a week and it's usually only in the fall. Basically, a day trip to Anacapa or Santa Cruz, or camping on Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa, or San Miguel. Next up, let's talk a little bit about what it's like to take the boat over. If you're planning to go to Anacapa or Santa Cruz, it's an easy ride at about an hour to an hour and a half. Often you'll see dolphin on the way over, and if you're really lucky, you may see whales as well. If you're going to Santa Rosa, it's about 3 hours each way, which is a very long boat ride, and the water can often get very choppy on the crossing. If you're prone to seasickness, you might want to bring some medicine and be sure to sit at the back of the boat where it's less bumpy. Island Packers is great though. I've done these boat tours 10 to 12 times and it's always been fine for me. Following that, let's talk a little bit about weather on the islands. The weather on Channel Islands can be unpredictable, with fog, wind, and rapidly changing conditions. Dress in layers, bring a hat and sunscreen, and be prepared for any type of weather, especially when you're on the water crossing over. I would recommend bringing a jacket even if it's going to be warm. The wind often kicks up in the afternoon, and sometimes the coastal fog covers the island for the first half of the day, and it can get a little cold. Alternatively, in the summer, it can be really hot without a lot of shade. I guess what I'm saying is just prepare for anything if you're going to go visit. Next up, let's talk about the facilities that they have on the island, and they are pretty limited. There are no stores or restaurants on the island, so bring all the food, water, and supplies you need for your visit. You can purchase drinks and snacks on the boat on the way over and on the way back, but once you get there, there's no other purchase options, so have whatever you need. Additionally, there are no trash cans, so be prepared to pack out your trash. There is drinking water at most of the main campgrounds, so you don't have to bring that unless you're going to some of the further out islands like San Miguel. If you are doing that, be sure to check in advance what type of water they have available so you're prepared for your trip. Also, the toilets on the island are pit toilets. Following that, let's talk a little bit about the wildlife that you can see in Channel Islands National Park. As I mentioned above, you'll often see whales and dolphin on the crossing over to the islands. I've never not seen dolphin, at least on the trip there or on the trip back, and I've seen whales a couple times on my visits. The Channel Islands themselves are home to unique plants and animals such as the island fox. You'll pretty much always see the island foxes on Santa Cruz Island near the campground. They're usually roaming around and looking for food. On my last trip, I saw a bald eagle as well, which was a highlight for me, and there's always tons of other shorebirds around. Of course, it should go without saying, but please see the wildlife from a distance and do not approach them. Following that, let's talk a little bit about the water activities available on the islands. The Channel Islands offer excellent opportunities for snorkeling, diving, kayaking, and swimming. On the last trip I went on to Santa Cruz Island, I got to do some kayaking, which was a huge highlight for me. The guided tour allowed us to go in caves and explore different parts of the island. And if you're looking for an awesome adventure in California, this is one you should consider. You can kayak at some of the other islands as well, but they don't really have guided tours, so you'd have to figure out how to bring your own kayak over and how to do it yourself. If you plan to go out in the water, be sure to check the weather and sea conditions before going out and know that there's not any lifeguards on the island. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about all of the different hiking opportunities you can have in Channel Islands. Each island offers a variety of hiking trails ranging from easy to strenuous. Anacapa is mostly flat with trails along the bluffs, but Santa Cruz and Santa Rosa have significant mountains and dozens of miles of trails. The hiking on the islands is top-notch with lots of things to see and stunning coastal views. Check out my blog for all of my favorite trails. I'll link to that in the description. Also, be sure to wear appropriate footwear, don't plan to hike in sandals, and bring plenty of water. If you're hiking, stay on designated trails to protect the fragile ecosystem and practice leave no trace principles to keep the island beautiful. So that's it for my 10 tips on how to make the most of your first visit to Channel Islands National Park. Hopefully this encouraged you to get out there and explore this beautiful part of California, and let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. Let me know what other informational videos you want to see like this, and thanks so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.